How was your transition to swimmingly and like your team's transition as a whole?
The first, I didn't realize, and I think I got with you, I didn't realize you could print out that sheet with all the names on it. So that first one, when I was just kind of going through and clicking the names and putting them in events, like for a USA meet, I could see 100%. It's so much faster just to see. But the biggest thing for me was like the paper and like the printing the timer sheets. I love not having to do that. You know, being able to combine it all into one place is very nice.
Can you tell me a little bit about your team and league?
We are the Southern Indiana Swim Association, so we're very like small, local, like summer team type thing. Jack is one of the three like big teams, and we have two kind of really little teams in the whole organization. We're the big feeder program. Like we really get a lot of our swimmers for our USA teams locally, so that's one of the biggest things. It's that intro to swimming for everybody.
Awesome. How long have you been with your team?
17 years.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, I
Great.
think 17.
And then what is your role? And can you walk me through some of your responsibilities?
So I started out as just a coach, and then after like 2 or 3 seasons, I became like the head coach where I coached, but also did like the meet entries and all those things too. But for the past probably 4 or 5 years, I've really done just that, like been in control of like the entries and I'm our CISA representative, technically is my
Okay.
title, and head coach. So I do more of, getting that stuff together. I deal with the parents more. And so the coaches can just coach. So I do everything, everything else.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then can you tell me about the challenges you were facing with your old system?
Our biggest thing, I mean, we obviously hated having to use so much paper. I always try to be more, save the trees and keep the papers and all that,
Yep.
especially at a meet, like where it's getting wet and we're outdoors. So the wind's blowing stuff away. So that was our biggest thing. It really wasn't time or effort and things for me, like, because I've done it for so long, like those still came easily too. But the real thing was just making it more streamlined, especially for the parents, and so that we can pass it along to other, like, as if I were to leave and somebody were to come, to try to keep it easy, because we know that like team manager, meet manager, they're hard to learn. They're just so many buttons. It is different. I'm like, and she just couldn't. I'm like, you just have to get in and play and click buttons. I'm like, but maybe next year if we go to this, like, it is a little bit easier, and you could do it on any computer anywhere, and it makes it nicer. So that's definitely gonna be a good thing.
Awesome. That's great. I guess it's very similar, but what helped you like make the final decision to use swimmingly?
I mean, I'm just open for trying new things anyway. So, and I was very much like, I know Olivia, the head of the city. So
Mhm.
she's above me in that aspect, that she's like the actual pool person, but I'm in charge of the swim team. But she's the same way. She's like, hey, I found this. Seems like we could save paper and time and energy on some things. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'll try it.
What are the top three pain points that swimmingly addresses for you guys?
But the biggest thing for me was like the paper and like the printing the timer sheets. I love not having to do that. I really loved how they, like, the times from the timers came straight to me, so I didn't have to like collect the timer sheets, and then check them. Even if we stopped using Touchpads probably 4 or 5 years ago, also because with the little bitty kids, they never touch them all the way, so you always have to correct the time anyway. So I know I had one parent who was like, I like Touchpads a lot better. I feel like it's more accurate. I'm like, they're not accurate for 10 and under kids. Like, I get what you're saying, but they're not. So,
Yeah.
but I loved that, not having to do that. It was I could, on the running the meet end, just sit there and literally the times would just come instead of having to have a runner to get the paper and then check the times. That was very nice.
How was your transition to swimmingly and like your team's transition as a whole?
I think we did pretty well. I'm very much a like visual learner. Like, I watched some of the videos and did some of the things, but really more for me, I was like, I got into that first meet. And after the first meet, I was like, okay, like now I'm good. Like, I knew what questions to ask. That's what I always tell like my students and even parents. Like that first meet, I'm like, I could sit up here and explain to you how the meet's going to run, but it would make no sense to you until
Yeah.
you've seen the meet. So I think it was very easy. It's confusing, but it's not. Like, I had sent out pictures. You're going to go to this one for this, and you're going to go to this one for this. Like,
Yeah.
here's the picture. Remember I sent this like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
So, but that's always how it is.
Were you able to eliminate any volunteers using
Yes.
swimmingly?
Yep. We didn't have to have a runner. I really necessarily didn't need a backup timer either. I mean, to be honest, we had 2 timers per lane. So I'm like, you kind of are your own backup to begin with.
Hmm.
So I did have somebody, I realized I really probably should still do like the lane place judge, like, who comes in first, second, third, because every now and then I would like, hey, what'd you get for this heat? Because these times are kind of crazy, like who actually got first. So I just put three into one, basically, I would say. So I really got rid of those.
Okay, awesome. And then how many hours of extra work do you save using Swimmingly?
The first, I didn't realize, and I think I got with you, I didn't realize you could print out that sheet with all the names on it. So that first one, when I was just kind of going through and clicking the names and putting them in events, like for a USA meet, I could see 100%. It's so much faster just to see. And, when it doesn't matter how many you get per event. But like when we get like the three per event and each kid can only swim three or four, like it's so much more of a puzzle. Like to me, printing it out is just the easiest way to do it. And that's what takes long. That's not a swimmingly or a meet manager or anything like that. That's just like that puzzle takes forever with 150 kids. So, but putting those in the computer, I would say it is still a little bit faster. I wouldn't say like insanely drastically, but again, because I had used the other one for so long, but I do think it was easier and faster to put those
Awesome.
into the computer.
What's your favorite thing about Swimmingly?
From my perspective as like the person who ran the meets, I really liked those times coming to me. That was the best one, not having to get the timers times. I mean, I know with like a touchpad and a plunger, you get them that way too, but you still have to have like a backup. So having, that hand time there is really nice. And as a parent standpoint too, I really liked the seeing the times like very automatically. Like, which I know, I mean, there's some or Meet Mobile and stuff too for those at other meets, but that was just the biggest thing. I loved how that was just there and integrated with everything too.
Awesome. And then what advice would you have for others considering Swimmingly?
I do think I like how it's all like basically online. It's not like a whole other system. Like you can go to any website. I guess you could add that in that last piece too. Um, being able to combine it all into one place is very nice. I know our new people that had came in from other teams, they were saying like, they're like, I don't understand. Like, what do I do in Team Manager? What do I do in Meet Mobile? How do I get? And I'm like, getting them to talk. Yeah, it takes some time. And I'm like, but this is nice because it's all in that one place. I think there were still a lot of things in there too that maybe I didn't use. I had a couple parents reach out and I was like, you can see your times, you can see a cool graph. Like I didn't get to that point this year of reminding them, like, oh, look, like you can see how they did in those events. So I'm excited to do that next year too.
Awesome. Great.